I thought you didn't do these types of streams. Well, here's the thing. I don't. But people will never stop asking me about it. I'm guaranteed to get 1 million ats today asking me to go over the ban list. So, what better way to do this than on a stream where I can just do it live and then upload a clip of it to the clip channel. And people ask me, hey, did you see the new ban list? It's like, I sure did. You should go look at my stream. So, let's go over this. We have a new ban list today. There's 3 new cards banned. First up, we have Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon, which is at 0 copies for no reason. Now, this one surprised pretty much everyone. I'm not really sure why this card's banned, to be honest. Let's show a combo. So here we have an average Auroradon combo. We're going to use the Sangan engine. Basically, what we do is with 1 card in the starting hand, we go into Crystron Halqifibrax and then Auroradon, who special summons a Mecha Phantom Beast monster from the deck. In the TCG, they usually use Cult Wing. Here, I'm just using O-Line because I'm a Master Duel Plebeian. And then we have a Borreload Savage Dragon. And then also, oh look at this, Herald of Arclight. With 1 card, we go into 2 negates. This is a pretty generic combo. It's not even the best combo. It's not even the goodest combo. There's just way more you can do than that. I don't know why this card was ever printed. It's like, hey, we have Crystron Halqifibrax, which is already super strong. Why don't we put out a card that makes it even better? You know, special summoning 3 tokens, and then special summoning another guy from the deck. You know what's the most broken thing ever? An extra deck monster that can special summon monsters from the deck. Let's also give one that special summons 3 tokens, and let's give it the joke of a restriction where you can't link summon any more monsters for the rest of the turn. I'm surprised this card got banned before Halqifibrax, but this does slow down Halqifibrax combos considerably. I like this. I'm glad this card's banned. Next up, we have Prank Kids Meow-Meow-Mu. Meow-Meow-Mu. So this one, I'm not really sure why they banned the card since it was already limited to 1, but maybe it's because at 1 it wasn't restricting the card enough since it's already a hard once per turn. So, what this card does is it's just a Link 1 Prank Kids card, so it's real easy to get on the field, and then it has a really good graveyard effect, where if a Prank Kid monster would activate its effect by attributing itself, you can just banish this card from the graveyard instead. Here's the problem with this, though. The Prank Kid cards, like the extra deck monsters, they all have effects to attribute themselves to basically bring back their materials to an extent. So they gain, like, huge advantage for attributing themselves. And you weren't really supposed to be able to circumvent their effects, because the Prank Kids themselves were already good before Mew-Mew-Mew was released. Meow-Meow-Mu. I wouldn't say good, but they topped events a couple of times. And then they released this, and it just made them even better. And they're like, hey, let's give them a Link 1 monster that lets them circumvent their only down. It's not even really a downside, like, it's just a straight upside. Because they were still, like, gaining card neutral advantage for attributing themselves. We can look at some Prank Kid combos if you want. There's nothing really too crazy about this. So here, I'm going to use Gale Dogra to send a whole bunch of Mew-Mew-Mews, Meow-Meow-Meow, it's Meow-Meow, right? To the graveyard, and then we're going to get 3 of them in the grave, but it doesn't really matter, because you can only use 1 of them per turn anyway. Howdy, Mr. Hero. Hello there. Look, it's Prank Kids Mew-Mew. And then we're just going to do some... I'm not even sure if these are good combos, because to be honest, I don't really play Prank Kids. I've only played against them. I only vaguely know what they do. So what we have here is a Raigeki on legs, but it has to attribute itself in order to do that. With Mew-Mew, you can just, attribute that instead, and it gives you 2 Raigekis during your opponent's turn. And it's quick effect, because the effect is not once per turn, because it wasn't meant to be, because you have to attribute the card in order to do it. So now it gets a free Raigeki during your opponent's turn, which is it's pretty good, but the other cards are also really good too. Like, it's not just that one. I guess the reason they banned the card is because at 1 copy it's still good. because you only need to use the effect once to gain, like, immense advantage. So banning it was probably the only way to go? I'm not sure. Let's go on to the next one. So, Predaplant Verte Anaconda. Does anyone not know what this card does? I'll explain it. So, it only requires 2 effect monsters. You can send a fusion monster or poly card from your deck to the graveyard. And then you get to use that effect without really worrying about the costs. So you could use it to send Red Eye's Fusion to the grave to go into the Dragoon. You could use it to send Fusion Destiny to go into Destiny Hero Phoenix Enforcer. Oh, Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, excuse me. And currently in the TCG, you can use it with Branded Fusion to go into Ice Jade. I don't think I have any clips for this. But I don't really need to show you guys clips for this. It's like, it's pretty obvious. This one's, I'm surprised this card was ever created in the first place. Because it was, like, obviously broken from the get-go. It's just, like, too generic. Like, what the hell, man? Sometimes Konami prints cards which are obviously broken immediately, and everyone's like, alright, well, let's have fun using it before it gets banned. This one kind of lasted a very long time before this actually happened. Yeah, just 2 effect monsters. Any fusion, as long as it's a quick play or normal, you can't use future fusion, because that would be too crazy. Next card, we have Crystron Halqifibrax at 1 copy. So, for those of you who don't know what this card is, it is responsible for like 5 other cards being on the ban list, including Auroradon. It when it's summoned, it just requires any 2 monsters, including a tuner. It can be 2 tuner monsters. There's no restrictions on that. And when it's summoned, you special summon a level 3 or lower tuner monster from your deck, but it can't activate its effects in the field this turn. And also, during your opponent's turn, has a quick effect to special summon a Synchro tuner monster. And it's also treated as a Synchro summon. Oh, I just noticed this. I didn't know that. I almost never leave this card on the field long enough to do that. So, this card right here starts a whole bunch of different kinds of combos. Too many to list. I showed it with Auroradon. There's no really need to go further. I only explained that just in case there's someone new watching this and they're like, what does this card do and why is it so goodly? Well, I guess I could show one Halqifibrax play. I have like a million of them saved. Jet Synchron. Jet Synchron normal summons itself, goes to the grave for Link Karibo, uses its effect in the graveyard to discard 1 card to special summon itself. Now there's 2 cards in the field for Crystron Halqifibrax. He brings out 001 Despot, which goes into Auroradon. Auroradon brings out 3 tokens, which procs the effect of Despot 001, and then we're comboing off. Tribute 2 in order to go into Cult Wing to special summon 2 more tokens. We have 2 level 4s. Oh, and it brings back 001 again. Oh, this is the Karakuri combo. So that one special summons a Karakuri from the deck. That one also special summons a Karakuri from the deck. And they're both level 9s. Oh, so you can just go into True King of All Calamities and then end on an Arc Light. Oh, I forgot you could do this. Same with Crystron Halqifibrax. How could you fix this card to make it unbanned? Restrict it to Crystrons. Okay. Next one. We have Shooting Riser Dragon. I don't know why this one's limited. That doesn't make any sense. Also, it doesn't really make any sense to limit Crystron Halqifibrax, because you only need 1 copy, but I guess with Auroradon banned, I don't know. This is more of like, if you stop it once, then you're kind of golden, but they can just go into another one on their next turn. So now you can no longer do that. Shooting Riser Dragon. This card can be brought out with Crystron Halqifibrax during your opponent's turn. It just sends a monster from your deck to the graveyard, and it lowers its level by the level of the monster it sends. And since it's level 6, oh, it's 7. So you can get a level 7 or lower tuner monster with this, and it also sends a monster from your deck to the graveyard. Oh, it's any monster. Oh, yeah, that's good. Like, this card has seen play. It's only hit because of snow, because it can send snow to the grave. Alright, so this one's limited because of snow, apparently. Next card, we have Jet Synchron. Oh, I just showed the Jet Synchron combo. So, Jet Synchron was originally banned because of Crystron Halqifibrax. It's also a machine tuner, so it allows you to go into Auroradon easier. It was kind of a machine. It was kind of a monster of a card because of its machine typing, and because it's a tuner monster that can special summon itself from the graveyard without locking you into other things. So what we have here is what it does is if this card is in your graveyard, you can discard any card from your hand in order to special summon it, but then it's banished when it leaves the field, and it has a hard once per turn on the effect. However, Crystron Halqifibrax is also machine type, and so was Auroradon. So I guess with Auroradon banned, you can't use it for Auroradon combos anymore. And I'm assuming that's the main reason why this card was banned, because you could also do this exact same combo with Plague Spider Zombie. And nobody's using Plague Spider Zombie. I guess the only advantage is Jet Synchron has more support to get it in the grave. That also works with Synchro monsters. And because it discards instead of return it to the top of your deck, so you can actually use it for advantage. But literally, Plague Spider Zombie does the same thing. And it no longer has the advantage of being machine type because Auroradon's gone. I'm going to assume that's why they unlimited the card. Well, not unlimited, it limited to 1. Limited 1 doesn't really do anything. But it's better than unlimited, I guess. Next up, we have Red Rose Dragon. This one surprised me. I've only ever seen this card used with like Barone combos because it's a level 3 tuner that... what it does is, if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can special summon a Rose Dragon monster from your hand or deck, except Red Rose Dragon. And then if it was sent to the graveyard for the synchro summon a Black Rose Dragon or a Plant Synchro monster, you can add one of these 2 cards from your deck to your hand. So basically, if this cheated out of the deck with a Crystron Halqifibrax, and then use as a synchro monster, you get to special summon another card from your deck. And then you also get to search if you went to a specific one, but you don't really do that. You use it for Barone most of the time. Unless I'm thinking of something, unless there's something else. Is there some other way they use this card? Because like without Auroradon, I don't think the combo even works anymore. Because of the Adventure Engine, right? It might be because of the Adventure Engine. Works too well with Tenki. Oh yeah, the Tenki Synchros. Tenki Adventure Rose Pile. Baron Duflor. Yeah, I know it's used for Baron. I just wasn't aware of like the Brave engine that works with this. You see, I didn't actually do research for why this card was spanned. Usually, when I make the real videos, the actual ones, I go through and actually research and try to figure out why. For this one, I didn't actually know. I was just going to be like, hey, chat probably knows. And chat's saying the 60 card Brave pile. Yeah, for an actual video where I do actual research. No, I didn't do any research for this. Next up, Performapal Monkeyboard at 1 copy. That makes sense. And see, here's the thing. Monkeyboard has an effect where it's a, whatchamacallit, scale 1 that can search out another scale. And one of the things about this card in comparison to other pendulum monsters that can search out the opposite scale is that this one doesn't lock you out of your extra deck for doing so. Like, there's also Cleefort Scout that can do the same thing, except you can only pendulum summon Cleefort monsters. And this is the only one that can search out its opposite scale without any other kind of fuss, because it's just, you know, the turn it's activated. Search out your other pendulum scale if you want. And there's also a huge amount of cards it can search out to be the opposite scale, some of which can also allow you to go further in advantage. And it's a 1-card scale setter-upper. Whereas usually, pendulums are balanced around not being able to have 1 card set up your scales. You need at least 2. That's the balancing mechanism of pendulums, which failed. And they're like, nope, 1 is too much, unless it's very specific to an archetype. And this one's not. And at 1 copy, it is searchable, because they also have their search cards. There's a lot of searches for Performapals. Having it at 1 copy is basically like, oh, now we have a 1-card scale. But the thing is, modern pendulum decks, they don't really play Performapals, if I'm remembering this correctly. So, of the current top pendulum decks, I don't think Monkeyboard really fits in them, to be honest. I'll be interested to see if it actually sees play or not. Like, the effect itself is good in a vacuum. It's just like, the current best pendulum decks are very combo-oriented. And they're combo-oriented in very specific ways that can't really make use of Monkeyboard. Truth will figure something out. Yeah, that's true. It's a generic, singular, excellent card that I don't think it really has any spots in decks at the moment. So that's probably why it's limited to 1. Because the power level of the game has got to the point where a 1-card pendulum scale isn't really a big deal. Which is hilarious. It's mainly because of the Master Rule revisions. With the Master Rule revisions, they don't really need to limit pendulums as much as they used to, because they're not as ridiculous as they used to be. Remember being able to bring back your entire extra deck every turn? That was crazy. What were they thinking? That was so good. Now you can't do that anymore. You need link scales for that. Wish that would be back. I don't miss it at all. If you didn't have an out to the scales, you were ham boned because your opponent would just go +5 every turn. Plush Fire is still banned, we'll be fine. Yeah, Plush Fire is great. Okay, anyways, next one. We have Change of Heart. This one's a surprise. Take control of any one of your opponent's monsters until the end of the turn. This card is great. It's amazing. I'll be surprised if it doesn't see play. You can just steal your opponent's monsters and use it for any of your own plays that you want. Here's the thing. Change of Heart is inherently a going second card. So, you can't really use this going first, you know, which is fine. But when you think of going second cards, you have to compare Change of Heart to other going second cards that exist in the game. Like Lightning Storm, Evenly Matched, or Forbidden Droplets. And is Change of Heart better than Lightning Storm, Forbidden Droplets, or Evenly Matched? From like a pure advantage point of view and being able to actually play through your opponent's board, I don't think it is. But it is still good. It's a generic +1 in card advantage. Because you use one card from your hand, you deny your opponent one resource, and then you gain another resource back. So it's a +1 right there. It's as beautiful as the day we lost it. And stealing your opponent's monsters is like one of the best kinds of +1s because you get to, it steals anything. There's no like restrictions to it. You can use it for your own link plays. You can use the effect of the monster if it has one that hasn't like negated the effect of the card. It's purely a going second card in today's metagame, and there's other cards that can impact way more than just one Change of Heart. So I'll be interested to see if it sees play. Like I remember when they originally unbanned Mind Control, which is basically a similar card except it has restrictions on the monsters you steal. Like it immediately saw a whole bunch of competitive play. But I think people have finally stopped using Mind Control because there's just better going second cards nowadays. Like Mind Control was unbanned in a time when Lightning Storm was like not even a card yet. We didn't have Forbidden Droplets either. I think they had just released Dark Ruler No More, and that was like, oh, we have a going second card now. Mind Control is still limited? Yeah, but no one really plays Mind Control anymore, to my knowledge. Just because there's better going second cards. I would assume this card would see play just because it's still good. But maybe not. I could also probably see it not seeing play at 1. It's easier to use than a lot of the other going second cards. Like Lightning Storm requires you to have no face-up cards. Forbidden Droplets requires a whole bunch of resources to use. Evenly Matched requires you to go your main phase and can just be negated anyway. I just think Change of Heart is crazy in general. Yeah, it's pretty good. Next one. We have Yata-Garasu to 1. I think I've mentioned this in a whole bunch of videos. So what Yata-Garasu does is it can't be special summoned. When it's normal summoned, not when it's normal summoned, you can only normal summon the card. And if it inflicts battle damage to your opponent can't draw a card. So the effect itself, the entire card isn't very good. The problem with this card is it's like the ultimate win more card. Like if you're ever in an advantageous game state and you pull out Yata-Garasu and attack with it, you've basically won without actually winning the duel. So it's just really unfair to come back from. But that doesn't mean it's good, you know? Like I've always said, this card could probably unban and no one will ever play it. But it's like the design philosophy of the card is why it was banned. It's been 18 years. Yeah, I think this is the last longest lived banned card that came off. Kek W splites. Next card, we have Time Seal. Similar reasons to Yata-Garasu. The only effect of the card is to skip your opponent's next draw phase. It's not as strong as Yata-Garasu, but it can be comboed to be just as strong. It's just no combo decks today will probably do it. There's actually a lot of ways to recover normal trap cards from your graveyard. Like, it's probably easier to perform the Time Seal lock today than it was back in the day. Like, 10 times easier, especially since it's a normal trap card. Since it's limited to 1, it can't be searched out with trap tricks at the very least, but... This would be... You can recover the card infinitely with only 1 copy. Zengen actually freed Yata in the Time Seal. That's true! Whoa, lore accurate. Next up. We have Dinomight Knight, the true Dracofighter. I didn't even know this card was still limited. Who the hell is playing the true Dracos anymore? So what this card does is you contribute it using continuous spell or traps instead of monsters. And once per turn, when your opponent activates an effect, you can add a true Draco or true King continuous trap card from your deck to your hand, or activate it. Either or. The True King continuous trap cards have effects that when they're like destroyed, you get to destroy one of your opponent's cards, and they can also destroy each other. So basically it's like disruption with extra steps. And also the effect does proc during your turn, so if you use like any spell speed 2 effects during your opponent's turn, they like double up on the effects. So before you get another turn, you've probably used the effect 3 times. They're like advantage machines. It's really hard to like out-resource true Dracos, because like instead of searching on summon, like most other archetypes, they search when your opponent activates a card effect. Anyways, what I think it's funny is that true Dracos kept seeing play even after their boss monster was banned. Just to really show like, wow, that archetype was really strong. They no longer have their mega broken boss monster, and they were still winning events. Next up, Cyber Angel Benten. This is semi-limited, down from 1, I believe? Yeah. With the banning of Eva, I guess they thought it was okay to bring it back to 2. Because at first they're like, oh no, Benten's the problem with Drytrons. Let's limit the card. Oh wait, I should probably explain what Benten does for those of you who don't know. So it's a ritual monster with ritual effects that don't matter, because it also has another effect where, if this card is tributed, you get to add any one light fairy type monster from your deck to your hand. It itself is a light fairy type monster, so you can search out another copy of itself if you wanted. But the important thing to note is that it's not once per turn. And it doesn't really matter where it's tributed from. It just says if this card is tributed, so it can be tributed in the hand in order to search, which is what Drytrons would do. It could be tributed on the field. It could even be tributed like in other places. But it's just the fact that it searches on its tributing. And it's also a ritual monster, so it benefits from the ton of really good ritual monster support there is to search this card out. So it's a searcher that searches your searchers. That was supposed to be restricted by the fact that it can only do the searches on tributes, which Drytrons made like a cakewalk, because they tribute like crazy. Yeah, and it's not even hard once per turn, exactly. If it was a hard once per turn, we probably wouldn't be having these problems. Next up, we have Fire Formation Tenki. This one's going to 2 from 1. This card is always on the ban list. I'm always surprised to see when this card is unlimited. Like, from its inception, it's always going on the ban list. What this card does is it allows you to add any level 4 or lower Beast Warrior type monster from your deck to your hand. Historically, there's been a lot of good Beast Warrior type monsters in the game that you've wanted to search out. It also has another effect, because it's a continuous spell card where it increases the attack of all your Beast Warrior monsters by 100 attack. And it's a hard once per turn. This is one of the few like spell card searches in the game that can be stopped with MST, which didn't really matter. Anyways, I think the main reason this card was banned recently was because of Tri-Brigade. And they lowered the power level of Tri-Brigade a little bit, so I guess they're slowly bringing it back. The TCG doesn't really use the semi-limited list as much as the OCG does. Like, the OCG is obsessed with the semi-limit list. Like, most people are like, semi-limit list is irrelevant. It doesn't matter except for Malicious. Malicious is the only, like, card where the semi-limit list makes sense. So for the most part, Malicious is usually the only semi-limited card in the game. But in the OCG, they put everything on semi-limit. It's like, oh, is this deck a little bit too strong? Let's semi-limit some of their combo pieces. That might bring them down a little bit. Next up, we have Pot of Desires back to 2 copies. It was originally 1 copy because of, what was that deck called again? Not True Draco. Sword Soul. They originally limited this card because it worked very goodly with Sword Soul. They're like, this card has a restriction for a reason. You can't use that restriction to go plus. Next up, we have Trickstar Light Stage at 2 copies. I forgot this card was limited. I assumed it was unlimited in the TCG, but apparently it was limited this whole time. So Trickstar's Light Stage, it's their field spell card. What it does is it searches out a Trickstar monster when you activate it. Also, it like adds extra damage to your Trickstar's effects, and also once per turn, it's basically like a Night Beam, where you just get to pop one of your opponent's back row cards. Next up, we have Wall of Revealing Light, semi-limit. So, Wall of Revealing Light is a continuous trap card that has the effect where you can activate it by paying any multiples of 1,000 life points you want, and then your opponent cannot attack with monsters that have less attack than the amount of life points you paid. So, I play Trickstars, but I'm shit at Yu-Gi-Oh! I wouldn't say that. So, if, for example, you pay 3,000 life points, and your opponent's trying to attack with a Blue Eyes White Dragon, they can't because it needs to have more than 3,000 attack. And you would think, whoa, it blocks all attacks and you only have to pay maintenance cost once? Why was this card limited? It should be banned for that. No, the reason this card was limited for so long is because of its ability to pay life points and any multiples you want. Not because of the actual effect. Like, the card itself is kind of bad because it's so easy to destroy. You just destroy it with literally anything. If you breathe on it, it dies and you lose all the advantage you got. But there are cards which require you to have very low life point values in order to gain benefits. There's actually a lot of them, in fact. And they're usually balanced around the fact that you can't really reduce your life points that quickly. Except with this card, you could bring it all the way down to 1,000 immediately and then just pop off from there. Next card. We have Night Assailant. It's at 3 copies now. For the longest time, this card was limited to 1 copy purely because the effect was just not written correctly. So here's how the old card worked. It used to be if this card was discarded, you can add a flip monster from your graveyard to your hand. It itself is a flip monster, so what you could do is discard this card in order to add back the second copy from your graveyard back to your hand, and it wasn't once per turn, so it was just an infinite discard fodder. If you had some way to infinitely discard cards to gain effect, you could use Night Assailant to offset the cost completely, with 2 copies. So it was always limited to 1 so that you couldn't do that. However, they recently errata'd the card so that it can't target itself with its effect, thereby breaking the loop and no longer making it banned. And nobody will probably play it at 3 copies. Because all it does is add back a flip monster. And who plays flip monsters? Can you think of any other archetypes more cringe than flip monsters? Trishula at 3 copies. It was originally at 1. So Trishula combos. Trishula is a level 9 Synchro monster, which requires at least 3 monsters to bring it out. So 1 tuner plus 2 or more non-tuners. It banishes 3 monsters on its summon, 1 from the hand, field, and graveyard. It does not target, and it's not once per turn. So, what you would do with Trishula is summon the card to banish 1 card from your opponent's hand going first. Then desynchro it and bring it back to do it again. And again, and again, and again. The thing is, desynchro, you don't really need that. You could also just go into other copies instead if you were comboing off. Let's show some Trishula combos, shall we? This one with just 3 copies of desynchro. We're going to get rid of every card from my opponent's hand using Auroradon combos, of course. Okay. I accidentally knocked my mouse on top of my keyboard, which muted it. Look at that. It's Trishula. Get rid of 1 card and then use desynchro to bring back its 3 materials. And then go into another Trishula. Draw a card with TG Hyper Librarian to discard another card. Well, banish. And then go into another Trishula to get rid of another card. And then each time we do this combo, we draw a card thanks to TG Hyper Librarian. So there are obviously better ways to do the combo than what I was doing there, because I didn't really feel like setting up an actual deck for this. I just wanted to show, you know, being able to snipe cards from your opponent's hand pretty easily. If you wanted to do it that way, you only needed 1 copy in order to do that because of desynchro. But if you want to get rid of more cards without having to play desynchro, that's where other copies of Trishula comes in. Next up, we have Salamangreat Miragestallio. Who's playing Salamangreats? So this card allows you to generic level rank 3, and you can detach a material to special summon a Salamangreat monster from your deck. However, I think it also locks you into... Also, you cannot activate monster effects the rest of this turn except for fire monsters. Oh yeah, that's pretty bad. Sent to the graveyard for a link summon of a Salamangreat monster. You can target 1 monster in the field and return it to the hand. Ooh, it bounces if it's used as material. Yeah, I think it was just banned because, like, you know, they wanted to stop Salamangreats from seeing play. But I don't think all of the combo decks even used Miragestallio because it prevented you from using other monster effects except for your Salamangreats. Because Salamangreats use a lot of other non-Salamangreat monsters to get their combos off. And because it locks you into that. Like, it's a good card, it's just the restriction was kind of a decent restriction. The main power of this card is, you know, the fact that it could special summon a monster from the deck as an X-Check monster, which is always ripe for potential abuse. Next up, A Hero Lives is finally at 3 copies. I was surprised to see that it was still semi-limited. Nobody plays heroes. It just special summons a hero monster from your deck if you control no monsters by paying half your life points. Usually any spell card that can summon a monster from your deck without any additional loss and card advantage is good. Especially since heroes are able to go plus off of the search. But heroes themselves, they've always been kind of a rogue deck, but like only kind of. I'm sure it's fine to give them their main combo starter to 3 copies. Salamangreat Circle. This is just another Salamangreat card. Nobody's playing Salamangreats. It just searches a Salamangreat monster from your deck to your hand. And then Scapegoat at 3. I'm not sure why Scapegoat was even limited in the first place. No, I know why it was limited in the first place. It's just like you can only use Scapegoat like going third. Because when you use Scapegoat, it summons 4 sheep tokens, but then you can't summon other monsters for the rest of the turn. You also can't summon monsters before you use Scapegoat. Like, Scapegoat is the only monster summoning you're doing that turn. So the best way to use it was to set the card going first, and then use it at the end of your opponent's turn so that you can have 4 tokens going third, which is kind of slow. But if you do that, you gain a whole bunch of advantage. Like, literally just a +3 in card advantage. So when they originally released Link Monsters, I don't think anyone really thought they were going to do that, but everybody was playing Scapegoat. So the combo was happening all the time. So they originally limited to 1. They're like, okay, you guys no longer get this free +3 in card advantage because we didn't think people would actually wait around to turn 3 to do this, but everybody's doing it. Because games go to turn 3 a lot more often than you'd think. Especially when you have like meta decks going against each other, and just getting a +3 off of 1 card is just too strong. However, I guess there's just way stronger generic cards in the game nowadays where, you know, a super slow card like Scapegoat giving you a +3 is probably not worth it. Also, who has the extra deck space to turn that into a +3 in the first place? Because in order to get the +3, you do have to have a lot of extra deck space to really take advantage of it. Alright, I think that's it. That's all of the cards